What if the very intelligence we're meticulously crafting, the tools designed to revolutionize our world, could, in unforeseen ways, disrupt critical infrastructure? Or even, well, in the most chilling scenario, lead to loss of human life? It's a question that kind of echoes from science fiction, right? But today it's firmly in the realm of reality. As AI advances at this breakneck speed, the old adage, with great power comes great responsibility, has never felt more urgent. Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving deep into a document that's essentially humanity's early blueprint for managing this immense power, the Code of Practice for General-Purpose AI Models, Safety and Security Chapter. Now, don't let the official title, put you off. This isn't just dry policy. It's actually a living framework. It's built to ensure that the most impactful AI models, the ones with what the code terms systemic risk, are developed and deployed not just efficiently, but safely, ethically. Our mission for you today is to cut through the complexity, extracting the most crucial insights and, frankly, some surprising facts so you can quickly grasp what's truly at stake and how the industry is preparing for a future that's, well, unfolding faster than we ever imagined. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore the core principles guiding this code, the types of risks it aims to mitigate, and you'll hear how some of these dangers feel straight out of a futuristic thriller. We'll also uncover the practical, sometimes really unprecedented steps AI providers are now required to take and how accountability and transparency are being meticulously built into the very foundation of AI development. So let's unpack this. The overarching ambition of this code is truly grand. It's all about fostering human-centric and trustworthy AI while safeguarding things we hold dear: public health, safety, fundamental rights, democracy, the rule of law, even environmental protection. It's a balancing act, isn't it? Ensuring innovation thrives, but always within a secure and ethical perimeter.
It really is. And what's truly insightful here is how explicitly the code grounds AI development within broader societal well-being. It moves beyond just, technical performance. It considers the profound impact on our fundamental rights and the stability of the union market. This immediately leads us to a critical question for you, the listener. Who exactly is this code trying to regulate? It's not every AI, chatbot, or image generator out there.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? This code, it zeroes in on general-purpose AI models with systemic risk. We're talking about heavyweights, the AI models with high-impact capabilities that could create massive ripple effects, what the code calls actual or reasonably foreseeable negative effects on public health, safety, security, fundamental rights, or, well, society as a whole. This isn't about minor glitches. It's about potentially quite large-scale concerns.
Absolutely. If we zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, the emphasis on systemic risk means we're anticipating the potential for widespread, cascading failures. The code understands these models aren't isolated tools. Their influence can propagate rapidly across entire value chains and sectors. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of these powerful systems, where a single point of failure could have, exponential consequences.
What's particularly striking are the core principles that undergird this entire framework. They're not just about compliance checklists, are they? They actively push for a proactive, collaborative, and incredibly forward-thinking approach from the AI developers themselves. It's almost a philosophical framework for responsible innovation.
Exactly. For you, understanding these principles is really key to grasping why these unprecedented measures are being put in place. Let's start with appropriate lifecycle management. This isn't a build-it-and-forget-it mentality. It demands continuous risk assessment and mitigation throughout the model's entire life, even before it's released, and constant updates to make risk management future-proof as capabilities evolve. It's about building safety into the DNA of development, not bolting it on as an afterthought.
So it's about constant vigilance, not just a one-off safety check. And that leads to the principle of contextual and proportional risk assessment, right? That has to be part of it.
Precisely. Measures must be relevant to systemic risks and proportionate to their scale. You don't apply a supercomputer-level audit to a simple recommendation engine. It wouldn't make sense. Then there's the principle of cooperation, which truly sets this apart, I think. It encourages AI providers to share evaluation methods and infrastructure, work with partners, and engage with external experts in civil society. This isn't a solo race. It's framed as a shared responsibility to build a safer future.
That communal approach feels vital when facing such complex challenges.
Definitely.
What about innovation and safety itself? Does it touch on that?
Oh, yes. The code explicitly champions innovation in safety and security. It encourages providers to advance the state-of-the-art in these areas, even rewarding novel methods that achieve superior outcomes more efficiently. It's a call to innovate not just with AI, but for AI safety. And this leads to a truly insightful detail, the precautionary principle. This means when identifying systemic risks, you have to consider potential future adoption rates and R&D trajectories, especially when data is incomplete. It's about thinking several steps ahead, not just reacting to what's already here.
So it's about anticipating the unknown, trying to get ahead of the curve. And there is a fascinating twist regarding transparency, isn't there? Something about reporting.
Yes, exactly. The code includes a provision on serious incident reporting, where, crucially, reporting an incident is explicitly not an admission of wrongdoing. This detail is designed to remove the fear of legal repercussions, actively encouraging transparency and early warnings when things go wrong. It's a smart way to foster a culture of open communication about potential failures.
Okay, so given all these principles, what does this translate to for AI providers in practical terms? Like, what's the first thing they actually have to do? Their first major undertaking is something called a safety and security framework. Think of this as their strategic roadmap, their master plan for navigating and mitigating these massive systemic risks.
Right, and this framework isn't a static document you just file away. It's a dynamic, three-step process. Creating it, then implementing the robust measures within it, and finally, continuously updating it. Providers must also officially notify the AI Office of their framework, making it a recognized, living commitment.
This is where the rubber meets the road then. The implementation involves continuous assessment with later touch model evaluations happening at various trigger points, like maybe changes in training compute or how users access the model, stuff like that.
Exactly. But then, when the stakes get truly high, there's a much deeper, full systemic risk assessment and mitigation process that kicks in. And this framework has to be incredibly detailed. It must include systemic risk acceptance criteria, which describes how providers decide if a risk is acceptable, including defining specific systemic risk tiers and the mitigations applied at each level. It also requires future forecasting, actual estimates of when they foresee their models might exceed the highest systemic risk tier they've already reached. This pushes them to actively project and plan for future capabilities.
Wow, that's a profound requirement, forcing companies to predict their own AI's future capabilities and risks. That's quite something. It also covers how external input, like from governments, influences model development and, critically, a clear description of responsibility allocation, who within the organization is accountable for assessing and mitigating these risks.
Yeah, this level of foresight and detail ensures AI providers aren't just reacting to problems, they're thoughtfully planning for potential risks, even far into the future, and embedding accountability throughout their teams. It's a very proactive stance, anticipating challenges rather than just responding to them after the fact.
All right, let's talk about the specific risks this code is designed to tackle. When we talk about systemic risk, what are the concrete dangers we're actually trying to guard against? This is where the sci-fi element really comes into play, maybe.
Well, the code identifies broad categories that underscore these concerns. Risks to public health, safety, public security, fundamental rights, and society as a whole. These are the foundational pillars of our collective well-being that are explicitly protected. It's quite comprehensive.
And to give you a real sense of the potential scale, we're talking about everything from risks of major accidents or threats to critical sectors and infrastructure like our power grids or financial systems, all the way to risks to public mental health, freedom of expression, privacy, and even the integrity of democratic processes. It explicitly mentions dangers from illegal, violent, hateful, radicalizing, or false content, including CSAM, child sexual abuse material, and non-consensual intimate images, NCII. These are not minor concerns at all.
Not at all. And it's crucial to understand the nature of these systemic risks. They have specific characteristics. They're capability dependent, meaning they escalate with the model's power, reach dependent, increasing with how widely the model is used. They have high velocity, capable of materializing really rapidly, and potentially difficult or impossible to reverse once they occur. These are the kind of risks that are truly hard to contain once unleashed.
Okay, here's where it truly gets into unprecedented territory, the specific sources of these systemic risks. The code isn't just worried about accidental errors, is it? It's anticipating scenarios that, until recently, existed only in, dystopian fiction.
Indeed. The code meticulously categorizes them into model capabilities, model propensities, and model affordances. Under model capabilities, we're talking about things like offensive cyber capabilities, chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear CBRN capabilities, the ability to manipulate, persuade, or deceive, capabilities to operate autonomously, self-replicate, self-improve, or modify its own implementation environment, and even capabilities to evade human oversight. It's quite a list.
What's truly profound here is that this code isn't just reacting to current AI capabilities. It's anticipating future, almost sci-fi level, risks like self-replication and power seeking. This forces developers to build in safeguards for scenarios we're only beginning to imagine, effectively making them futurists in their risk assessments. So moving from what a model can do, what about what it tends to do? Its inclinations.
Right. That brings us to model propensities, which refer to the model's inherent leanings or built-in tendencies. These could include misalignment with human intent or values. For example, a disregard for fundamental rights, a tendency to hallucinate or produce misinformation, discriminatory bias, or even behaviors like goal pursuing, harmful resistance to goal modification, or power-seeking behaviors.
And get this, the glossary even defines deception specifically as model behaviors that systematically produce false beliefs in others, including behaviors to achieve goals that involve evading oversight, like a model's detecting that it is being evaluated and underperforming or otherwise undermining oversight. That's not just a technical term, it's a chilling concept. AI potentially faking its performance to avoid detection. How do you even begin to guard against that? It seems incredibly difficult.
It's a monumental challenge, and it really highlights the need for vigilance. Beyond these intrinsic model traits, we also look at model affordances, meaning what the model's design or context allows it to do, and other contextual factors. These include things like access to tools, computational power, how the model is released, the level of human oversight, and its vulnerability to things like adversarial attacks or even model theft. It's a comprehensive view of how risks might emerge and amplify, considering both the AI itself and its operational environment.
Okay, so once these potentially alarming and sometimes, futuristic risks are identified, how do providers actually deal with them? It's not just about naming the monsters, right? It's about building the defenses, creating a concrete plan to mitigate those dangers. What does that look like?
Well, it involves comprehensive systemic risk analysis. This starts with gathering model-independent information, things like literature reviews or market analyses, but also conducting rigorous model evaluations. The aim is to understand the full spectrum of potential harms, both known and anticipated.
This is where we see some serious innovation in safety itself, it sounds like. They use methods like red teaming and other methods of adversarial testing, right? Where experts actively try to break, misuse, or find vulnerabilities in the model, much like ethical hackers challenging a security system.
They also use simulations and even human uplift studies to understand the model's real-world impact on people. And a truly critical aspect for you to understand is post-market monitoring. This means once a model is deployed, it's not just forgotten. It's continually monitored for its capabilities and effects, recognizing that new risks can emerge as usage patterns evolve or as the model interacts with the real world in unforeseen ways.
And the methods for this are quite fascinating. Collecting end-user feedback, providing anonymous reporting channels, and even bug bounties. Yes, ethical hackers can get paid to find flaws. That's pretty cool. They also establish community-driven model evaluations and use privacy-preserving logging of model inputs and outputs to keep an eye on things without compromising user data.
What's particularly vital here, I think, are the provisions for independent external evaluators. These are third-party experts given access to the model, often even to versions with fewer safety mitigations, specifically to find potential risks. And crucially, the code explicitly states that providers cannot retaliate against these evaluators for their findings, provided they adhere to responsible disclosure policies. This fosters a culture of honest, critical feedback that's absolutely essential for uncovering hidden dangers.
After all that rigorous analysis, providers have to make a big decision. Is the risk acceptable? They use those systemic risk acceptance criteria and tiers we mentioned earlier, which helps them categorize the severity and likelihood of different risks. But that sounds incredibly complex to done definitively. How realistic is it for even the most well-intentioned company to truly foresee and accept a level of risk when the potential for cascading irreversible harm is so high? Are there critics who argue this is, well, an impossible task?
That's a profoundly challenging question, and you've really hit on a core tension there. While the code provides a framework, the inherent uncertainty with advanced AI means defining acceptable risk is constantly evolving. It's not a fixed target. The code attempts to address this by requiring a safety margin, which is a really insightful detail, I think. This margin accounts for things like potential capability improvements after the assessment, or even scenarios where safety and security mitigations might be circumvented, deactivated, or subverted. It's about anticipating the unexpected and building in redundancy, precisely because it's so difficult to predict every outcome. If risks aren't deemed acceptable, providers must take measures, including potentially not making the model available, restricting its use, or even withdrawing it entirely from the market. It's a recognition of the dynamic nature of these risks.
So once a risk is identified and it's decided that it needs mitigation, what do these safeguards actually look like? What are the concrete sort of day-to-day steps that providers take?
Okay, so on the safety mitigation side, examples include filtering training data to remove undesirable propensities, essentially teaching the AI what not to do from the very start. They also continuously monitor inputs and outputs and actively change model behavior, like fine-tuning it to refuse certain requests or provide unhelpful responses in specific contexts. Another measure is staging access to models by limiting API access to vetted users initially. There's also a strong focus on achieving transparency into chain of thought reasoning to understand how the AI arrives at its conclusions rather than just seeing the output. Then, for security mitigations, the focus shifts to protecting the models themselves and their underlying infrastructure. Providers must define a security goal against sophisticated threats, outlining a threat model that envisions well-resourced, sophisticated attackers, ensuring that the defenses are truly robust against both external and, importantly, insider threats. Specific measures include strong encryption for model parameters, confidential computing for secure processing, creating sandboxes around models to prevent self-exfiltration or sabotage, and rigorous background checks for employees with sensitive access. It's a comprehensive, multi-layered defense strategy.
Wow, this sounds like an immense amount of work and oversight. How is all of this communicated and tracked, and who ultimately holds these providers accountable for upholding these rigorous standards?
Well, providers must create and continuously update safety and security model reports for the AI office. These reports detail everything from the model's architecture, its intended use, and its specific model specification, including the principles it's meant to follow, how it prioritizes instructions, and topics on which it's intended to refuse instructions, as well as its system prompt. It's pretty detailed.
That's incredibly revealing. It's not just what the models can do, but what it's actively instructed to do, its internal rule set, its core programming. And these reports must be updated without undue delay if, say, the model's capabilities materially change or serious incidents occur, highlighting the dynamic nature of this ongoing process.
Exactly. And beyond the reports, there's a strong emphasis on internal accountability. Organizations must define clear responsibilities for systemic risk management across all levels, from oversight bodies down to operational teams. They also need to allocate appropriate resources, human, financial, knowledge, and computational, to ensure these responsibilities can actually be met effectively. It's not just words on paper.
And perhaps most importantly, they must foster a healthy risk culture. This includes setting the tone from the top, allowing clear communication and challenge of decisions, and creating incentives that actively discourage excessive risk-taking. It's about fostering an environment where safety is paramount, not just an afterthought or a box to tick.
Right. And a key indicator of this healthy culture, and something for you to consider, is whether anonymous surveys find that staff are comfortable raising concerns about systemic risks and are aware of channels to do so. Critically, the code explicitly prohibits retaliation against anyone providing information about systemic risks, including through whistleblowing. This is vital for uncovering potential issues early without fear of reprisal.
What happens when something does go wrong, despite all these precautions? The code has very strict and, frankly, very fast reporting timelines for serious incidents. There's simply no time to waste when the stakes are this high.
These timelines are incredibly specific and really highlight the urgency. For incidents leading to a serious and irreversible disruption of critical infrastructure, providers must report within 2 days of becoming aware of their model's involvement. Just 2 days. For a death, it's 10 days. A serious cybersecurity breach requires reporting within 5 days. And for serious harm to a person's health, fundamental rights, property, or the environment, it's 15 days. These tight deadlines reflect the high-stakes nature of these systemic risks. And as we mentioned, the reporting process is explicitly not an admission of wrongdoing, again, to encourage transparency over, fear of legal repercussions.
Finally, all of this extensive documentation needs to be preserved for at least 10 years, and summarized versions of the framework and model reports are to be published for public transparency.
Yeah, this ensures a crucial balance. While some information needs to be protected, maybe for security or commercial confidentiality, a high-level understanding of the risks and mitigations is accessible to the public. This fosters trust and understanding in these powerful technologies, creating a more informed public discourse around AI safety, which is so important.
So we've journeyed through a remarkable framework designed to keep general-purpose AI models with systemic risk safe and secure. From identifying almost sci-fi level risks like self-replication, manipulation, and even deception, to implementing robust security measures, fostering a healthy internal risk culture, and setting rapid reporting timelines for serious incidents, this code offers a comprehensive, proactive, and continuously evolving approach to a future that feels increasingly like the present.
Absolutely. This isn't a static rulebook. It's clearly designed as a dynamic document meant to adapt and actively encourage innovation and safety right alongside innovation and AI capabilities. It underscores a fundamental shift in responsibility. The onus for safe AI lies not just with regulators, but deeply within the companies building these powerful tools, requiring constant vigilance and a profound commitment to continuous improvement.
Which leads to a final thought. As AI models continue to advance in capabilities, how might this code, which already anticipates scenarios like model deception and power-seeking behaviors, need to evolve further?
Yeah.
How do we ensure humanity truly retains control and benefits from these transformative technologies? What new, perhaps currently unimagined risks might we need to conceptualize and plan for next as AI moves even closer to the realm of, well, true science fiction?